The Angry Marks Podcast Network is brought to you by WrestleWork at WrestleWork.com.
You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Now, from what I've seen on your CCW matches when I've watched them, you come across as I'm the best, I'm anybody that doubts me, they don't know what they're in for with Shane Strickland, kind of cocky persona. Do you prefer working a little heel, a little arrogant? Is that a natural thing, or do you like when you get a chance to work as babyface?
I like being challenged, and I felt like being put in that role was a challenging role because not a lot of people saw that in me, and not a lot of people believed I would be able to pull it off. Especially DJ Hyde, because when I pitched him the ideas to do that and to go that route with it, he's like, "Oh, are you going to be able to do it?" I was like, "Yeah." And like me getting that doubt a little bit, like definitely challenge. It was a challenge to me, and I love taking challenges and definitely proving people wrong. So in those promos, I actually have like a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, a little bit, and I was actually shooting from the hip a little, because it was just I wasn't necessarily shooting on anybody or wasn't really airing out any dirty laundry or anything like that. It was just an emotion that I used to channel into that character to be able to portray that.
Yeah, well, it came across. I'd say it was successful. So having that chip on your shoulder definitely motivated you to not only walk the walk and talk the talk, but get in the ring and bust your ass. And you know, you mentioned you wrestled Alex Colon very early on. And I think that's an irony because right back in CZW, there you were again feuding with Alex Colon.
Yeah, exactly. I always tend to have these kind of connections with certain people. Like me and Alex always had that connection. Always, like he always brings out the best in me, and I bring out something different in him. And one of those things was like, once again, we just challenge each other. Rich Swann was the same way. Like Rich Swann was pretty much my first feud in CZW. And I talked to him about 8 months prior to our first match in CZW because he was just in Japan that long time. And he really liked my work because I ended up wrestling JT Dunn in Rhode Island, and I sent him that match because he couldn't make that booking. So he wouldn't be in the country. So he just ended up contacting the promoter and referring me to him. So I ended up taking Rich Swann's place and wrestling JT Dunn in Rhode Island. And I did well. And so ever since then, Rich Swann was like, "Yep, I like this guy." So when he came back home and came back to CZW, he's like, "I want to wrestle Shane Strickland." I was like, oh, awesome. And so now it's funny, like fast forward years later, I'm teaming with him in England. I'm wrestling him in Germany. I'm tagging with him in Dragon Gate against like Tony Nese and Trent. So it's kind of funny how like those little things like just come back full circle like later on in our careers.
Well, I gotta go on a personal segue here for Matt Rushmore, a show I went to a couple of years ago, PWG in California. And when Rich Swann came out, and I'd already seen him a couple of times at a couple other shows, but he came out that night and he started singing his way to the ring. And I was like, is there anything this man can't do? I already knew he could wrestle, and then he was singing his way to the ring. I'm like, how is he not signed to WWE or TNA right now?
It's remarkable. It's only a matter of time, I believe. But the man is just he's not just a phenomenal talent. He's just a remarkable entertainer. I mean, that's a gift that not a lot of people have. He just naturally has a gift to just be able to take something small and make thousands make thousands jump, like dance along to it and believe it. You know, that's just a gift that not a lot of people have. And Rich Swann has that gift.
Well, you've got some gifts yourself, and like I said, you've been showing them all over the independent scene, and you're heading out to do the show this weekend and show that talent there. But I also hear word on the grapevine is that you might be doing some matches with Lucha Underground in the near future.
That's a possibility, but I'm not sure where that might have got out. But I'll already be on the West Coast, so we'll see what happens. You just keep checking out the internet, see if that comes through or not.
Yeah,
that might prove if I'm a liar or not, or I might be swerving the internet.
Oh, yeah, well, that might be the swerve, you're right. But if that's something that we're letting the cat out of the bag, we can always delete that out of the show. I could go rewind, delete. We can take that out if you want.
No. Do your thing, man.
All right. It's all good then. And, Jordan, I know I've been monopolizing the conversation, so I want to give you a chance to ask Mr. Strickland a couple of questions. Please go ahead.
So pretty much, Shane, you're a great wrestler with a great athletic ability, and obviously you've probably trained a long time. Obviously, you have to train a long time, well, maybe a year or so in order to be a good worker. Like I said, you learn along the way. But what was like one of the hardest things for you to take home when you first started training to become a wrestler?
I would say, I would definitely say, I would say slowing down was one of the biggest things. And then like just living in the moment and having a presence in the ring, because I was always pretty I always grasped being there on spots and being there on like certain moves and certain aspects of the matches. I was always good at grasping that aspect of it, but being able to just like slow down and become not just like a good in-ring performer, but an in-ring wrestler, but like becoming a character and being more than just that. Like, I end up getting that really, really late because I end up just watching certain matches on TV and certain, like, matches from a long time ago and from the best guys that done it, and just really, really breaking down what they do, breaking down every single aspect of why they do things that they do. I got the why later on, you know, of why you do what you do. And I just really started calculating myself a lot more, and I started, like, not doing as much, like too many convoluted things. Instead of just like, this is what I do, boom, that's why I did it. And then everybody understands that, and it just translates so much more in my matches. And I feel like I got that really, really late in my, really late in my CZW title run.
Like, I've learned a lot. In order to become a great wrestler or a great worker, well, they're both obviously the same thing, but to become great at anything in this business, you have to have something unique among anything else. And I go to your gimmick about that. How did the whole Swerve gimmick come about?
I was actually like in the car with like a good group of people. It was like me, Swan, Alex Colon, Chrissy Rivera, and I believe it was a Georgie boy who's a trainee at CZW now. We're all riding, and I was playing music on my phone like through the car, and the one song what was it? It was a Kanye West. It was a good music song with Big Sean. What's the name of the song? I don't know. Yes, you do. You know the damn song. But it was just a song and it had Big Sean in it, and he kept saying Swerve in the song. And I just thought that was really, really cool. It was really fresh. It was just, I like the way it came off. And like, I was a really big fan of like having words with the letter S in it. So like, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Swerve. Like, I think that's cool. Let's just start using that in promos and like using that as like my character and everything. Then it just came off like an old school rap moniker, like Shane Swerve Strickland, like, you know, like the Fresh Prince or some shit like that, you know. But
wasn't that the song Mercy? Lamborghini Mercy?
Yeah, there we go.
She's so thirsty. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. I just thought that was really cool. I just got put in there. I was like, and Big Sean, I was really high on Big Sean at the time too. So I just took that, ran with it. But I was like, I need to like have a meaning for it. Because everybody really loved chanting Swerve, Swerve. I didn't like the fact that they'd be like, Shane, or Strickland. They'd be like, Swerve. You know, I like that more. So I needed a meaning behind it. So I was really like just going with like everybody had a moniker or something that went with their wrestling ability. Like Ricochet is always the future of flight. So I feel like you have to, if he doesn't match that style of wrestling in his matches, then he'll have less. He has to live up to that height, to that name every time. Like the man that Gravity forgot with Pac, he has to live up to that name. I don't have to live up to Swerve, so I just made it something like Swerve is like swag equals walking with style, and I always said Swerve is confident. So swag is style, Swerve is confident. So I always use Swerve as confident, and I started portraying that more in my matches later on when I started really getting that together.
Awesome, Stevie, back to you.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask you, Shane, about one of the matches that I've watched, and I always say this about matches that involve tables. It's worse when the table doesn't break than when it does, and that CZW Wired title match you had where you came off the ladder and the table didn't break, how badly were you hurt on that spot? Because I didn't think you had to sell. I thought that was like, oh my God, he's hurt for real.
Oh, that was a bit of a sting. For sure. It definitely felt like a stinger on it. Was like one of those hits in football you get where you get like that little sting and it's just like you kind of lose your vision for a second, but it comes back. It was that kind of feeling. So that was like that didn't feel pretty well.
No, I was worried that you broke your neck watching that spot. I was like, holy crap, he's not dead. Okay, this is good, but damn.
I think the fact that it didn't work out as well as that came out as it did, but it didn't work out, made that part of the match a lot better. Actually, I actually liked that aspect of the match.
Well, it was memorable. I can't deny that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, everybody saw the table break. Well, let's see it not break, and you land on the side of the table. I'm like, oh, that's unique.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't really your fault either, because that table was kind of bouncing around in the ring, so you weren't going to hit it cleanly no matter what happened.
Yeah, I just wish we could have ended up using it, because now it's like, oh, DJ's like, oh, now we got a table we didn't break. I'm like, oh, so JT Dunn ended up going through it later on, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. He did. So now, I personally think that might be the most violent CZW match I ever saw you in. But I know there were some others that you would probably say that, when you get involved in a company where they use light tubes and barbed wire, there's more hardcore than just not missing, going through a table.
Oh yeah, the table's the least of my worries when it comes to that. There's a lot of we just recently broke out a weed whacker, so I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I'll take a neck bump on the side of a table over a weed whacker.
Yeah.
I did take glass, but yeah.
And now, that's one of the things, like I said, CW's famous for that is, light tube matches and whatnot. What's the worst amount of glass you've ever had, going through a match in CCW? How, because I've heard about people getting, their thumbs sliced off and shit.
I didn't get any bad scars from it, actually. I ended up wrestling Devin at Night of Infamy, and he gave me the Finley roll from the top through the glass, he pretty much put the glass like a table between two chairs, and we went through it. And so I went through back first with with my shirt ripped off. So I went through bare back.
Ow.
From the top through it. But I only getting one kind of thick scar on the side of my back. But it wasn't anything too bad. It was just being put in the Texas cloverleaf in the glass on the submission, have my chest and stomach on it. And I was crawling to get to the rope. Then he pulled me back into the ring and being pulled through the glass. That was probably the worst part, because later that night it was hard to sleep. I couldn't even ride home comfortably, and that was a 3-hour ride home after that. It wasn't very comfortable at all. But I would say during the match it wasn't as bad, but just the after effects of healing from it and getting in the showers and laying down and putting a shirt on, that stuff was just difficult. And I don't understand how guys can do that on a monthly, weekly basis.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that anybody should do on a monthly or weekly basis. I think it's probably something people should only do once a year or less at best. If you're going to do a match like that, it's like they say about the bump card. You got a certain amount of bumps in your career. Don't use them all up right away.
So those guys end up doing those kind of violent matches so they actually don't have to bump as bad. So they end up using those. Yeah, so they use those, that's why you see a lot of Japanese deathmatch wrestlers in the age of 50, because they don't really bump as much, they just take violent stuff. And they do those on a weekly basis over in Big Japan and stuff, so it's and then Freedom. So they find, it's a different way to have a long career, but it's definitely not the safest.